الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله هيا على الصلاة هيا على الصلاة هيا على الفلاح هيا على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
استووا استقيموا واعتدلوا يرحمكم الله. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قل أفغير الله تأمروني أعبد أيها الجاهلون ولقد أوحي إليك وإلى الذين من قبلك لئن أشركت ليحبطن عملك ولتكونن من الخاسرين. بل الله فاعبد وكن من الشاكرين. وما قدروا الله حق قدره والأرض جميعا قبضته يوم القيامة والسماوات مطويات بيمينه سبحانه وتعالى عما يشركون. ونفخ في الصور فصعق من في السماوات ومن في الأرض إلا من شاء الله ثم نفخ فيه أخرى فإذا هم قيام ينظرون. وأشرقت الأرض بنور ربها ووضع الكتاب وجيء بالنبيين والشهداء وقضي بينهم بالحق وهم لا يظلمون. ووفيت كل نفس ما عملت وهو أعلم بما يفعلون. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. وسيق الذين كفروا إلى جهنم زمرا حتى إذا جاءوها فتحت أبوابها وقال لهم خزنتها ألم يأتكم رسل منكم يتلون عليكم آيات ربكم وينذرونكم لقاء يومكم هذا قالوا بلى ولكن حقت كلمة العذاب على الكافرين. قيل ادخلوا أبواب جهنم خالدين فيها فبئس مثوى المتكبرين. وسيق الذين اتقوا ربهم إلى الجنة زمرا حتى إذا جاءوها وفتحت أبوابها وقال لهم خزنتها سلام عليكم طبتم فادخلوها خالدين. وقالوا الحمد لله الذي صدقنا وعده وأورثنا الأرض نتبوأ من الجنة حيث نشاء فنعم أجر العاملين. وترى الملائكة حافين من حول العرش يسبحون بحمد ربهم وقضي بينهم بالحق وقيل الحمد لله رب العالمين. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا واصرف عنا برحمتك شر ما قضيت فإنك تقضي بالحق ولا يقضى عليك إنه لا يذل من واليت ولا يعز من عاديت تباركت ربنا وتعاليت لك الحمد على ما قضيت ولك الشكر على ما أعطيت نستغفرك اللهم من جميع الذنوب والخطايا ونتوب إليك لا ملجأ ولا منجا ولا ملتجا منك إلا إليك اللهم اقسم لنا من خشيتك ما تحول به بيننا وبين معاصيك ومن طاعتك ما تبلغنا به جنتك ومن اليقين ما تهون به علينا مصائب الدنيا ومتعنا اللهم بأسماعنا وأبصارنا وقواتنا أبدا ما أحييتنا، واجعله الوارث منا، واجعل ثأرنا على من ظلمنا، وانصرنا على من عادانا، وانصرنا على من عادانا، ولا تجعل مصيبتنا في ديننا، ولا تجعل الدنيا أكبر همنا ومبلغ علمنا، ولا إلى النار مصيرنا، ولا إلى النار مصيرنا، واجعل الجنة هي دارنا، واجعل الجنة هي دارنا، ولا تسلط علينا بذنوبنا من لا يخافك فينا ولا يرحمنا، برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمسلمات، اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات، وألف بين قلوبهم، وأصلح ذات بينهم، وانصرهم على عدوك وعدوهم. اللهم لعن الكفرة والملحدين الذين يصدون عن سبيلك ويكذبون رسلك ويقاتلون أولياءك. اللهم خالف بين كلمتهم وزلزل أقدامهم ودمر ديارهم. اللهم دمر ديارهم. اللهم خذهم أخذ عزيز مقتدر. اللهم خذهم أخذ عزيز مقتدر. اللهم خذهم أخذ عزيز مقتدر. اللهم انصر إخواننا المسلمين في فلسطين. اللهم انصر إخواننا المستضعفين في فلسطين. اللهم انصر على عدوك وعدوهم يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أقر أعيننا بإعادة المسجد الأقصى إلى بلاد المسلمين. اللهم أقر أعيننا بإعادة المسجد الأقصى إلى بلاد المسلمين. إلهنا وخالقنا ورازقنا، ليس في الوجود رب سواك فيدعى، وليس في الكون إله غيرك فترجى، وليس من ملك فترفع إليه الشكوى. إلى من نشتكي وأنت العليم القادر؟ أم بمن نستنصر وأنت المولى الناصر؟ من الذي يجبر قلوبنا وأنت للقلوب جابر؟ نسألك اللهم يا الله أن تنصر إخواننا المسلمين في كل مكان يا رب العالمين. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم، وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. وصل اللهم وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum. Inshallah, there will be a short talk by Mufti Farhan. The brothers are just requested to go outside and rearrange their cars and create room for people to leave and inshallah return. So we'll start in the next 3 to 4 minutes. Jazakallah khair.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, we're just going to give the brothers a few minutes to move their cars, inshallah, and come back. So meanwhile, inshallah, we can engage ourselves in the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, maybe the road and the blessings upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So at least, inshallah, our time can become valuable. And of course, every second, every moment that we spend in the masjid, in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also very valuable. But to indeed nourish and cherish every second in the house of Allah, especially in the last ashra, is indeed a blessing upon every one of us, inshallah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربي يسر ولا تؤسر وتممه لنا بالخير يا فتاه يا فتاه يا فتاح. My dear respected brothers and elders in Islam, truly it is an immense mercy, rahmah and blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that in this blessed and beautiful month of Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has gathered all of us towards His house at this specific moment. It is indeed from the mercy and the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I know many of us have been awake for the entire night. It was the first odd night amongst the last ashra of Ramadan. I don't want to take too much time. I will share with you one hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam which speaks about three important points. So one hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam taking back three things. Hadith of Ubadah ibn Samit radiyallahu anhu. Ubadah ibn Samit radiyallahu anhu reports that once the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came upon us. And the reason of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam coming upon the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum ajma'een was to inform them of the specific details and the night of when Laylatul Qadr is. When they would able to find the night, the night of decree, the night of power, and the night which is known as the night better than 1,000 months. In which many hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam speaks about the significance of this night. The ayah of the Quran itself speaks about the significance of this night. So the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had come upon the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum ajma'een to inform the Sahaba the details of when exactly the night of Qadr is. Ubadah ibn Samit radiallahu anhu said that the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam approached upon us. As soon as the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came, there were two Muslim men who were arguing with each other. Because of the argument between these two individuals, the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that indeed the details and the designation on when the night of power and the night of Qadr is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uplifted. So because of the argument of two individuals, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uplifted the designation, the ta'ayyun, and the exact details on when Laylatul Qadr is. That's the first thing. Second thing, the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam looking at the hearts of Sahaba, that what had just happened to us. What had just happened to us? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, perhaps it is khair and good for you. Perhaps it is good and khair for you. Second point. Third thing, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, look for the night of power. Look for Laylatul Qadr on the night of the 25th, 27th and the 29th of the month of Ramadan. One narration mentions, look for the night of power on the odd nights of the last 10 days in the Ashra of the month of Ramadan. My dear respected brothers and elders, the hadith itself looks very simple. But this hadith gives us three very, very important things that we need to understand and comprehend. First thing that we understand from this hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the unity, the love, the affection and the togetherness of this ummah is essential to bring back the rahmah and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself defines the characteristics of Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'in by saying that indeed it was a time that you had reached the verge of entering inside Jahannam. and you were indeed far away from each other. فَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبٍ. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gathered your hearts together, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made you into brothers, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took your differences away, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala united you. So in reality, the first and the most important thing that we need to learn from this hadith, and of course which this ummah lacks at this moment in extreme amount, is to connect our hearts and to unite our hearts for the sake and for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Many a times, for the differences between ourselves, for small little things, we begin to even call each other disbelievers. Wallahi, a time has come that we see ourselves, each other, beginning to call each other kuffar and disbelievers. Many a times we find people not praying behind each other, not saying salams to each other for small little reasons that ummah has divided itself into small little pieces. Wallahi, the unity of the ummah is the basis and foundations of the help and the rahmah and the nusrah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to come. Imam al-Shafi'i rahmatullah alayhi once came to the grave of Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi, and where the site he was buried, to meet his students and to visit this place. And when Imam al-Shafi'i rahmatullah alayhi in his salah was leading, the entire students of him, they never said Ameen loudly in salat. So everyone was surprised that aren't you of this saying that you have been debating this for the entire of your life, that you are supposed to say Ameen loudly? He says, the one that I have come to visit today, he debated for all of his life that you're not supposed to say it loudly. So I felt shy saying it loudly in the presence of his and his students. Meaning this was the love and affection between them, that so much muhabbat and love they had between each other. Rasulullah ﷺ said, the arguments between yourselves will wipe away iman as the razor cleans the hair away from a body. The arguments between yourselves, Rasulullah ﷺ said, will wipe away iman from the lives of people just as a razor cleans the hair of a person. So the unity of the hearts of individuals, yes, differences will stay. They will remain until the day of Qiyamah. But these differences cannot become the reasons of our hearts separating from each other. These differences cannot become the reasons of ourself not saying salam to each other. These differences cannot become the reasons of ourself taking the faith and iman of others away. Many a times these differences become the reason. Many a times we have seen that even we take away faith and iman from people by saying, brother, this person is not even a Muslim. I don't even believe in him. So to such an extent. Rasulullah ﷺ made dua. Oh Allah, do not let my ummah be all perished and destroyed in one time. The dua was accepted. Oh Allah, do not let a tyrant come upon my ummah all at once, so all of them can be underneath the control of this tyrant person. The dua was accepted. Oh Allah, do not allow the entire ummah and their faces to be changed, the earth to be open, and the skies to swallow it. Everything like this, it was accepted. Oh Allah, do not let my ummah divide. Oh Allah, do not let my ummah divide. This dua was not accepted. But differences will remain until the day of Qiyamah. But having these differences, having all of this, do not let your hearts be divided from each other. Wallahi, the month of Ramadan is the best of the time that we unite our hearts. Yes, we can have difference. Everyone can have the right of their own opinion. But do not let our hearts despair from each other. Let not our hearts be divided from each other, because this is something which uplifts the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sahaba had differences, but their hearts were connected to each other. The Nabi of Allah ﷺ is sitting in the house of Zayd bin Arqam radiyallahu anh. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever says La ilaha illallah will indeed go to Jannah. Rasulullah ﷺ said, O Abu Huraira or Bilal, either one of them. He says, go and announce it in the individuals and people and tell them that whoever says La ilaha illallah will go inside Jannah. And if they don't trust you, if they don't believe you, you take one of my slippers and say that I saw Nabi of Allah ﷺ, he told me to go and sell this to people, that whoever says La ilaha illallah will go inside Jannah. So he takes the slipper of Rasulullah ﷺ, he walks outside if anyone asks him for the proof and dalil references. So he says, the first person I saw was Umar bin Khattab radiyallahu anh. I said, Umar? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, whoever recites La ilaha illallah will go inside Jannah. As soon as he completed this statement, Umar radiyallahu anh pushed him on his chest. Pushed him so hard that he fell back on his chest. And he started crying. And he says, don't you dare say these words outside. Now he's saying, the Nabi of Allah ﷺ told me. Difference. Now, subhanAllah, he went to the Nabi of Allah ﷺ. And he said, O Prophet of Allah ﷺ, Umar pushed me so hard that I fell on my back. I started crying. I didn't know what to do to Umar radiallahu anhu. So the Nabi of Allah sallallahu called Umar and said, Umar, why did you do this? When you know that this person was a messenger on my behalf. He says, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu if you let the people know that if you recite La ilaha illallah, you'll go to Jannah, hearing this, people will stop doing good amal. People will not do good deeds anymore. They will only rely on this kalima and they will try to go to Jannah. O Prophet of Allah, I stopped him from saying this, that if he keeps on saying this to people, people will only rely on a statement of La ilaha illallah and no one will do good deeds. And I did not want the people to hear this, so the people would not only rely on this statement and will hope for Jannah. Meaning the Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'in differed, but their hearts were never separated. When came the time, their hearts were the strongest. Ka'b bin Malik radiallahu anhu reports that it was a time of Tabuk. There was never a time that I was more flourishing than the time of Tabuk. The Nabi of Allah sallallahu called the Sahaba, let's go for Tabuk. The journey of Tabuk was extremely long. The campaign was extremely long, far distant. The fruits and the dates were ripe. And indeed, it was such a harsh condition on the individuals. So Ka'b bin Malik radiallahu anhu said that I know that I was all ready. I had money, I had horses, I had everything ready upon myself. So I knew that the day the Nabi of Allah sallallahu would actually begin leaving his house, I would be ready. So the Nabi of Allah sallallahu a few days before leaving for Tabuk, he got the Sahaba ready and told him, is everyone ready? The Sahaba started getting ready. I didn't really started preparing myself to leave with Rasulullah sallallahu. But after a few days, the Nabi of Allah sallallahu decided to leave. And then I got caught up with the things that I was doing in my house. All of a sudden, I hear the news that the Nabi of Allah sallallahu has left Madinatul Munawwara towards Tabuk. Now I started looking around in Medina, and the only individuals that I can see are either young children, or those who are handicapped, or those women, and amongst the munafiqeen, hypocrites. I don't find a mu'min in Medina. And he says, subhanAllah, I looked around, I couldn't find anyone. And now I started feeling bad. Then I still thought, you know what, as soon as he gets there, I'm still ready, I can go and meet him. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam reaches Tabuk. He looks around in the congregation. There were so many people. And wallahi, what a beautiful character the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had. Wallahi, we don't even have time to read the life of the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When he reaches Tabuk, amongst many Sahaba, there must be thousands of them. He says, I don't see Ka'b. He says, I don't see Ka'b. Look at the love of Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for him. That's why every Sahabi used to say that the way the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam treated us was that he loved us the most. That we knew that he loved us the most and he never loved anyone else. This was the akhlaq of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That everyone knew that the love that the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave them was pure. That no one shared that love except for that individual. So much love the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had for his own Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'in. So seeing so many individuals, he said, I don't see Ka'b. And some of the individuals begin saying that indeed he's from amongst the munafiqeen. So some of the Sahaba said, don't you dare say this. Indeed he's from amongst the believers. He's from amongst the mu'mineen. Ka'b bin Malik radiallahu anhu says, time passed on. I looked and looked. I tried, but I just got caught up. I just got so caught up that I couldn't go to Tabuk and meet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the day was announced that the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is returning back from Tabuk. He says, I wanted to go and hide myself. I just wanted the earth to swallow me because I couldn't face the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he said, now the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came back from Tabuk. He sat in the masjid. This was the tartib, this was the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That whenever he came back from the journey, he would come back to the masjid. He would sit there for a while. He would meet his companions. He would make salah and then he would go home. This is the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whenever you go for any journey, come to the masjid, make salah, go to your journey, come back to make salah and go back to the house. This was the amal of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So now he's saying that when the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came, he sat down, all the munafiqeen started coming one by one to make false excuses. And the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was just taking the exterior of these individuals, zahir of these people, and leaving the batin to Allah. He would say, indeed, Allah will make the judgment about you. Allah will make the judgment. Every person who came, he would say the exact thing. That indeed, Allah will make the judgment about you. He would accept the exterior excuse of this individual and leave the batin with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the interior with them. Ka'b bin Malik radiallahu anhu said, I asked the people, is there anyone who was a true believer who didn't also go? They said, yes. They say, who were these individuals? They say it was Hilal bin Umayyah and Murara bin Rabi'ah, two other Sahaba. These individuals came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They told him the truth. The Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, go home and Allah will decide about you. So Ka'b bin Malik radiallahu anhu said, finally I got enough courage inside of me. I walked inside the masjid. I sat in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and I said salam to him. And I said, O Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah has given me such skills that if I was to talk to you in a manner, you would never even think that I'm lying. Allah has given me the skills of talking. And I can manipulate the words in such a way that the listener would never even know that I'm lying. But I know that you are the Nabi of Allah. Even if I make you happy with my words, but Allah will send the wahi and the truth will be told to you. O Nabi of Allah, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to tell you the truth. Indeed, it was no excuse that I had. No excuse at all. Indeed, it was my own fault. I did not go myself. It was the world and the things, my family, my wealth, my gardens, my orchards. These are the things which held me back, O Nabi of Allah. It's my fault. At this moment, Rasulullah said, Ka'b, go, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will decide upon you. And then Rasulullah next day made an announcement and says, no one will communicate with Ka'b, Hilal, and Murara bin Rabi'ah. No one will speak to them. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 40 days passed. Ka'b bin Malik radiallahu anhu said, I had my cousin who used to live next door to me, and I used to climb the wall and I used to proclaim and I used to tell him, Talha, you know I'm not a munafiq. Please speak to me. But he would turn his face away because of the order of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, I would come to the masjid and I would try to stand next to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when he would begin salah, I would keep on looking at him. And as soon as he would finish salah, I would keep looking away, thinking that I was not trying to make him look towards me, or not saying that I was looking at him. And sometimes I would see that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would look at me, and as soon as I would look at him, he would turn away. So he says, the days went like this, to an extent that an announcement was made that Ka'b bin Malik, Hilal bin Umayyah, and Murara bin Rabi'ah should leave their families, not give them divorce, but separate yourself with them. So indeed, all three of them separated. One day, Ka'b bin Malik radiallahu anhu was walking in the streets and he heard an announcement. The reason why I mentioned to you this story, why I mentioned this story to you, he heard an announcement in Medina. A person is asking, where is Ka'b bin Malik? Where is Ka'b bin Malik? So finally someone pointed towards Ka'b bin Malik. He says, I am Ka'b bin Malik. What are you looking for? He says, I have a letter for you. A messenger has dropped a letter for you. He says, where is the letter from? He says, from the Roman kings. So he opened the letter and it said, O Ka'b bin Malik, we have heard that your people have left you. Your friends and your associates have left you. And your leader Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has left you. Now this is the best time that you come and you join us. We will give you izzat and respect and dignity which these people have taken away from you. Imagine the condition of Ka'b bin Malik radiallahu anhu. And look at the unity, the muhabba, the love and affection that they had for each other. Ka'b bin Malik radiallahu anhu said, this was the hardest moment that I ever passed in all that time. That I began to think that, oh Ka'b, you have gone so down that even the disbelievers are thinking of taking you away from faith. He ripped this up and he threw it in the fire. And he says, more or less to an effect, oh you Roman dog, do you think that your statements will make disunity between the hearts of the believer? Even though I am cut into pieces, I will never betray my brothers and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This was the statement. He could have said anything. No one is speaking to him. No one is talking to him. He could have done anything. It would have been the best chance to leave. But he knew unity and love and muhabbat between the hearts was the basis and foundation. The story continues. I want to finish the story for you, inshallah. I don't want to leave it in just this way. Even though the maqsad and the purpose was to convey this message to you, that even in the most vulnerable of the times, they did not leave unity and muhabbat. Ka'b bin Malik radiallahu anhu says, the other thing which hurt me the most, I used to think day and night, which many of us might not even come towards. He says, the other thing which used to bother me a lot was that, oh Ka'b, what if you die today? Will Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam make your janazah or not? He says, this used to pain me day and night. I used to cry for this. That, oh Ka'b, if I die like this, will the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam even pray your janazah salat, or he will not pray your janazah? He says, this pained me the most. He said, it had been 50 days and 50 nights that no one ever spoke to us. I was sitting on the roof of my house after the Fajr Salat. All of a sudden, I heard an announcer making an announcement very loudly and saying, "O Ka'ab bin Malik, O Mirara bin Habiyah, O Hilal bin Umayyah, be the glad tidings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for you that indeed Allah has sent revelation in the Quran of the forgiveness of these three individuals." Meaning Allah sent wahi and revelation. He says, all of a sudden, a messenger came running on a horse. He delivered this message and he says, "Fawallahi, the only thing that I had in my possession was a sheet of cloth that I had covered myself inside." He said, I borrowed a sheet of cloth from my wife. I wore that sheet, and the cloth that I was wearing, I gave this person as hadiyah and a gift who brought me this great message. He says, the only thing I had in my possession was that only one sheet of cloth. He said, I came to the masjid. Second point to be understood. Not the second point of the hadith, the second point of this story. He says, I came inside the masjid, and he says, the first person to greet me and welcome me was Abu Talha al-Ansari radiyallahu anhu. He said, he gave me such a big hug and such a great welcome that wallahi, until I die, I will never forget the way that he hugged me and he accepted me back as one amongst them. Meaning he gave me such a hug. Second thing that I want to get across, brothers and elders, love and affection between each other. Learn to receive each other. Learn to say salam. Give smiles to each other. Give love and affection to each other. Many a times you come to the masjid, you see someone's face and you get turned off. Oh, I'm going outside. Seriously. Give someone love, brother. Like, subhanallah, what's wrong with smiling? It's sunnah, right? Like, subhanallah, we can be smiling all our days. We come to the masjid, we got our face dropped. We don't want to smile at anyone. Give love to each other. He says, Ka'ab bin Malik says, the thing that I will never forget, many things happen. He says, the thing I will never forget is the way that he opened his arms and he hugged me and he accepted me. Warm welcomes will remain in the hearts of people. Wallahi, the way that you greet someone with the smile, with the grip of your hand, with the hug, wallahi, these things remain. This is the reason that we need to understand. So again, subhanAllah, this incident that I just wanted to mention, unity and muhabbat in the hearts of people. So hadith of Ubadah bin Samit radiyallahu anhu that we started saying. The Nabi of Allah ﷺ came in, saw two individuals because of their arguments. The Nabi of Allah ﷺ says the ta'ayyun and the takhsis and of course the details of Laylatul Qadr was uplifted. Again, love and affection. Many a times we know that they are people of iman. They are the people of faith. But little bit of differences, we begin to go so far away. The Nabi of Allah ﷺ even did ikram and honored those individuals who were known to be open munafiqeen. Today we know a person who is a person of iman and faith, we begin to say, brother, this is a disbeliever. Rasulullah ﷺ on the day in Madinah Munawwara, Abdullah comes. He's the son of Ubay bin Ka'ab. He's the son of Abdullah bin Ubay bin Salul, Ra'isul Munafiqeen. He's the chief of all the munafiq. His son was a true believer. He came to Rasulullah ﷺ and said, O Prophet of Allah ﷺ, can you drink this water? And please, after drinking this water, give me the remaining portion of this so I can give it to my father, Abdullah bin Ubay bin Salul, Ra'isul Munafiqeen, the head and the chief of all the munafiq. That maybe with the barakah that you have drank this water, Allah will change the heart of this father, my father. Rasulullah ﷺ drank the water, he gave the rest. Abdullah brought it to his father. He says, where is this water from? He says, this is the leftover water of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I have brought this that maybe Allah can give you the truth and the reality of Iman and Islam. And na'udhu billah, what was the statement of this man? This person says, I would rather drink the urine of animals than drinking this. And this is how harsh he was against Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But when the time came that Abdullah bin Ubay bin Salul was dying, his son came and said, O Prophet of Allah, can you please do something? The Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam took off his own qamis. He took off his own shirt. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, give him as a shroud that maybe Allah will have rahmah upon this individual. When this person was being laid inside the qabr, and who is this individual? Ubay bin Salul is Ra'isul Munafiqeen. Innal munafiqeen fi ad-dark al-asfali min an-nar. The worst of the portions of Jahannam is for the munafiqeen. Abu Jahl will not be in that portion. According to the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there are 7 sections of Jahannam, the hellfire. The least and the worst one is known as Jahim, which is for the munafiqeen. And and the top one is known as Hawiyah, which is for those who are idol worshippers. Abu Jahl was an idol worshipper. So indeed, Abu Jahl is not even in that level. But the Nabi of Allah ﷺ comes to the janazah of Abdullah bin Ubay bin Salul, and the Nabi of Allah stands next to it. The Nabi of Allah takes his body, he takes his saliva and puts it on him, thinking that maybe Allah will have rahmah and mercy upon this individual. 100 munafiqeen accepted Islam, seeing the akhlaq of Rasulullah. 100 munafiqeen accepted Iman at that day of the janazah of Abdullah bin Ubay bin Salul because of what Rasulullah did. Who was this individual? He was a munafiq. Everyone knew that he was a hypocrite. But the Nabi of Allah never called him out. You're a munafiq. What are you doing here? Why are you such a bad person? Today the people of Iman, today the people of faith, the people who proclaim La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, we begin to say, brother, this is kafir. We don't believe in him. We don't believe in this. What is happening to the ummah? What is happening to the unity of our ummah? Brothers and elders, the unity of this ummah will bring forth the rahmah and the barakat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I can speak about this forever, but at least the month of Ramadan is to leave behind our differences. Yes, differences will remain. I'm not gonna say everyone will become straight one thing. Yes, there remain differences, but do not let your hearts be divided from each other until and unless this ummah doesn't unite their hearts. The rahmah and the mercy of Allah can never, never, ever come upon them. I can speak about this forever, but I have 2 more points to discuss. Second thing, Rasulullah said, perhaps indeed this is khair for you. Perhaps this is indeed khair for you. What points do we get from this? Sometimes we plan a certain thing in our life, but Allah plans something else for us. And indeed, Allah is the best of the planners. We look at short-term results, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the long-term effects of our lives. And Allah is the one who makes the best of the decisions. So indeed, it must have been khair for us. I explain to you a story quickly. In Surah Al-Kahf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains 3 examples. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Kahf gives 3 stories. Amongst the 3 stories, there is one story known as the story of Musa alayhi salam and Khidr. Within the story, there are 3 stories. And from amongst one of the stories is the story of Musa alayhi salam and Khidr when they begin to travel. And the journey itself is, subhanAllah, so beautiful. It says that Musa alayhi salam, when speaking to the people, was asked, who is the most knowledgeable person on the face of this earth? Musa alayhi salam, being the Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, said, of course it is the Nabi of Allah, Musa alayhi salam at that time. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to teach this to Musa alayhi salam, that there must be some ilm and knowledge that Allah has given certain individuals, which he might not have at that time. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, oh Musa, there is a person on the face of this earth who has some ilm that you don't have, but he has. He said, seriously? He begins the journey. He takes his nephew, Yusha bin Nun. Yusha bin Nun was the nephew of Musa alayhi salam, who afterwards became the Nabi of Bani Israel. Both of them started a journey. And what did Musa alayhi salam said? I will continue to seek knowledge until my last breath. Until my last breath. Today, what is the seeking of knowledge? Google.com, Sheikh Google, Mufti Yahoo, and all these guys, right? This is the excellence of our seeking of knowledge. Nabi of Allah, Musa alayhi salam, striving for knowledge. You can get information, but you cannot get ilm without qurbani and sacrifice. Please write this down in your minds. You can get information, but you cannot get ilm without sacrifice and qurbani. Qurbani and sacrifice are the foundations in order to receive true ilm. He continued and continued and continued. Finally, he reached this man who was sleeping. He stands next to him and says, Assalamu alaikum. This guy never answers back. He says it a little louder. He says, Assalamu alaikum. He wakes up and he says, who is this? He says, my name is Musa. He says, Musa min Bani Israel? He says, yes, Musa min Bani Israel. He said, what can I do for you, Musa? He says, Subhanallah. And Musa alayhi salam is that Nabi of Allah who went to the Tur, to the mountain, and said, oh Allah, I want to see you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Musa, you can't. He says, no, I'm going to see you. He says, Musa, you can't. He says, I'm not going to leave until I see you. He says, Musa, this is not possible. He said, I'm not going to leave until I see you. Meaning he's speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with that love and compassion and jalal and strength. He comes to this man. I just wanted to point this small little point before I continue on. He said to Musa alayhi salam said to Khidr, what did he say? He said, can I please be given a portion of knowledge and ilm that Allah has given you? Can you please accept me as a student of knowledge for ilm which Allah has given you? Meaning he's humbling himself so much in order to receive knowledge. That's why Rasulullah says, 2 students will never learn knowledge. Hadith of Rasulullah. 2 individuals will never learn ilm in their life. A child who's mutakabbir, a child who's arrogant, or individual who is arrogant will never learn ilm. And second, a child or a person who's extremely shy, who don't ask, will never learn ilm. 2 things Rasulullah himself said in a hadith. So subhanallah, Musa alayhi salam, the Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He traveled and traveled, and finally Khidr and the entire situation. So the story that in the beginning I was saying, that the second thing that Ubadah ibn Samit radiallahu anhu mentioned, in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, indeed it is khair for you. So when Musa alayhi salam and Khidr started a journey, long story short, they sat on a boat. These people in the boat never charged them for any money, no ticket, no charges. They dropped them from point A to point B. Musa alayhi salam and Khidr comes off. They didn't buy any ticket, they didn't pay him anything. As soon as Khidr is coming off, he takes a plaque from the boat, he rips it off, and he says, Assalamu alaikum guys, I'm going to see you later. Musa alayhi salam, being the Nabi of Allah, says, Khidr, what are you doing? They never charged us a penny. They never charged us a cent. And you broke a plaque of their boat? What's wrong with you? This is your akhlaq and this is your manner? What are you trying to do? He says, I told you, you can't be patient. If you're not patient, you cannot be my students. And of course, then the two other incidents happen. I don't have time to discuss that. What was the interpretation of that story when the 16th juz of the Quran starts? Musa alayhi salam is told by Khidr that, oh Musa, this boat is going towards a direction of a river where there's a group of robbers and thieves standing. Whenever they see a boat which is perfectly clean and fine without any faults, what they do is that they take this boat into their possession and they kill the owners. But if they see a little bit of fault inside a boat, they let the boat go, they let the owners go. So I broke the boat in such a way that it doesn't drown them, nor it will be so pure that it will be indeed captured by the enemies or the thieves, and these people will die. So indeed what he looked at was the short-term effect, that you broke the plaque. But he did not realize that what Allah had kept from them in afterwards was much greater than this. So indeed a human being begins to judge by the conditions which comes upon them, but they don't realize that Allah might have put so much khair for them in future. So Rasulullah ﷺ said, perhaps the uplifting of the night of Qadr is khair for you. Ulama have given three terminologies for that. First of all, if we knew when was Laylatul Qadr, many of us would only stay awake for this one night and partying for the entire year, right? One night is enough. 1,000 nights, guys, make tawbah, let's go. This is Laylatul Qadr, guys. Let's go to Masjid Hamza. This is the night, the angels are coming, Jibreel is coming, everyone is coming. Let's go to Masjid Hamza. The rest night is party nights, right? So if many a times, if a person knew that one specific night was Laylatul Qadr, many a times a person would do so is ibadat one night. And the rest the people will begin to, as they say, leave off. Second interpretation which ulama have given, if for any legitimate excuse, a person missed out, a person was sick, a person wasn't feeling good, a person was in some other responsibility, and they was to miss that night, they would have no other chance of finding Laylatul Qadr or any opportunity to come closer towards Allah. Third interpretation, very beautiful to understand. This is something you need to comprehend. I know it's too early to comprehend things. I don't know why am I saying all these things. But third thing, very important. If a person knew that this night was Laylatul Qadr, and they still disobeyed Allah and His Rasul, this can take them even out of the iman and faith. When a person knows that a certain thing is proven by the sakes of Allah and His Rasul and they still disobey, this can take them away from iman. I'll tell you one story. Rasulullah ﷺ comes inside the masjid. He sees a man sleeping, deep sleep. The Nabi of Allah ﷺ calls Ali radiallahu anhu and said, Ali, please go and wake this person up for salah. He goes, he wakes him up, he makes wudu, he joins the salat. After salah, he said, Ya Rasulullah, I have seen that you are always the first one to do all good. Meaning you never hesitate in doing good. Meaning you are always the first one. Like for example, no one would ever say salam to the Nabi of Allah before he would say salam, right? Today we wait at each other, let him say salam, then I'll just shake my head, save my energy. Why do I gotta speak? Save my energy, right? Many a time someone says salam and we shake our head. Save energy, what? Not going to get thirsty by saying wa alaikum salam? Subhanallah. Rasulullah said, Man bada'a bis salam bari'un min al-kibr. The one who begins with salam, Allah will empty their hearts from kibr and arrogance. Allah will not raise them amongst arrogant on the day of Qiyamah. So subhanallah, Rasulullah was always the first one to do good. So he said, Ya Rasulullah, why don't you wake this person up yourself, right? Why didn't you? If you always do the good yourself, you're the first one to do all the good. Why did you not wake this man up to get the hasanat? Look at the mercy and the rahmah of Rasulullah ﷺ. He said, Oh Ali, I knew that this person was deep sleep. And if I would have woken him up and in his deep sleep, he would have rejected and said, no, I'm not getting up. If he would have rejected it while he was so sleepy, indeed he would have rejected the command of the Nabi of Allah ﷺ. And to reject the saying of the Nabi of Allah ﷺ would take him out of iman and kufr. the rejection of the saying of Rasulullah ﷺ would take him out of Iman and put him inside kufr. So I was afraid of his Iman, that's why I didn't wake him up. And if you would have woken him up and because of deep sleep, he wouldn't have replied back like this, indeed he would have not left Iman. So ulama have mentioned if a person knew that this night is Laylatul Qadr and then they still sinned and disobeyed Allah, this could have made him leave the Iman and faith altogether in general. So Rasulullah said, perhaps it is good for you that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uplifted a designation. Third and final thing, inshallah, then we'll be done. Rasulullah said, look for Laylatul Qadr in the last ashra of the month of Ramadan, in the odd nights of it. One hadith of Rasulullah mentions 21, 23rd, 25th, 27th. It goes around all the time. As the hadith of Rasulullah explains, 29th as well. Now, my respected brothers and elders, many a times I myself personally can tell you that many times in my life, in the entire life that I lived, there were many nights I spent that I personally can tell you that neither I benefited in this world nor in akhirah for spending this entire night awake. Sitting with friends and speaking, no benefit in this dunya, no benefit in akhirah. And I know many of you can count many nights in your life that entire night was spent without sleeping and nothing productive. And at the end of the night we said, you know what, why did we waste the entire night? Indeed, these nights are more precious than this world and whatever it contains. 1,000 months of worship for every night that we spent in the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Many a times you find people standing in Black Friday nights and standing in lines for days, and then afterwards getting something and saving few pennies and dollars. They think that they saved the world, and they think that they are indeed the most genius person in the world. That, did you know that I saved this much seriously for one specific thing? And when it comes to the nights, which are the nights of power, but I'm too tired, I gotta fast during the day. But indeed we do not realize the value. Please, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the few nights which are left in the month of Ashra of Ramadan, this is the time that we begin to develop this courage to stand in front of Allah and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this. Indeed, these times are very valuable. Time will never come back to us. We never know if we will see the next Ramadan. May Allah take us towards that. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect and preserve all. But wallahi, this is the only time that we have. Many of us have made intentions of doing so much in the month of Ramadan, but we were not able to accomplish. The last times of the month of Ramadan are truly valuable. Hadith of Rasulullah said, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالْخَوَاتِيمِ. Actions are dependent upon its ending. The way you end your action is the way that Allah will accept. We had wished and tried that we will do the best, but we couldn't. We couldn't give all of ourselves in the month of Ramadan. But no, it's not too late. We still have a chance. We still have an opportunity. We still have few days left. The way that we end our a'mal is the way that it will be accepted. The few nights that we have in the month of Ramadan, I humbly request all the brothers and elders that please value the time that we have. At least our Isha and our Fajr in Jamaat, in the masjid. Hadith of Rasulullah says the one who makes Isha and Fajr in Jamaat is as though that they made the ibadah for the entire night. If you cannot stay awake for the entire night, at least a portion of the night. If you cannot get up at least half hour before suhoor, get up, make few rakats. Hadith of Rasulullah says, Man qama laylatul qadri imanan wa ihtisaban ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbih. The one who stands in the night of power with iman and ihtisab, full faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and full hope with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will become the reasons of the forgiveness of all of their past sins. So indeed, what can be more valuable than standing in front of Allah and not knowing that Allah has forgiven all of our past sins? So indeed, this is something very valuable. Aisha radiallahu anha reports, and I asked the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what should I do if I find the night of power? What should I do if I find Laylatul Qadr? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Oh Aisha, read this dua. Allahumma innaka afuwun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni. Allahumma innaka afuwun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni. Allahumma innaka afuwun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni. Meaning, oh Allah, you are the one who love to forgive and you love to pardon. Oh Allah, you forgive me and you pardon my shortcomings. Oh Allah, you forgive my shortcomings. This is a dua that Rasulullah taught Aisha radiallahu anha to continuously recite in the nights of the power. So this is something that is important for us. I just wanted to share these three important things. The value of the last Ashra of Ramadan is upon us. If we are doing i'tikaf, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of your i'tikaf. For those who are not, maybe inshallah the time that we can spend in the masjid is definitely also very, very valuable. Recitation of the Quran, making of dua, all of these things inshallah are something that continuously need to be done even after Ramadan inshallah. May Allah accept all of our qiyam, may Allah accept all of our siyam, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of our dua, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take away the troubles and the difficulties which the entire ummah is facing at this moment, the calamities, the atrocity, and all the hardships which are upon the ummah at this moment. May Allah help this ummah in general. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provide peace and justice and tranquility in the life of each and every person on the face of this earth. And as one alim and one scholar were saying very beautifully, if your hands are not raised in dua, then your head must be down because of shame, right? If your hands are not up if your hands are not up in dua, then your head must be down in shame. If you are not making dua for others, then put your head down in shame. Because it is our responsibility at least that we can make dua for others. For those who are in trouble, those who are in distress, indeed this is our responsibility upon us inshallah. May Allah allow us inshallah to practice all that. Last thing I'll mention about Ishraq and then we'll finish. Next week inshallah, if we meet, Allah gives us enough life inshallah, we'll speak about keeping the spirit of Ramadan going even after Ramadan, because it will be coming towards the last weekend of our Ramadan. So keeping the spirit of Ramadan going inshallah, we can speak about this. I wanted to speak about this individual known as Umar bin Abdul Aziz rahmatullahi alayhi today. Then I just thought of this, but maybe next week inshallah I will share some things about the accolades and the life of Umar bin Abdul Aziz rahmatullahi alayhi that I truly admire, and I wish all of our youngsters could have some opportunity to read his life and think about it and reflect upon the life of this great giant in Islam known as Umar bin Abdul Aziz rahmatullahi alayhi. Maybe next time inshallah, next Saturday, I can share some points with you as well. But again, Ishraq is something which usually when we finish our salat, when you're done with our program, the sunrise, I think is 5:38 today, something like that, right? 5:39. So 5:39 is that. So approximately 12 to 15 minutes after that, after the sunrise, if a person was to make 2 rakats of salat, in reality, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give them the reward of accepted Hajj and accepted Umrah. Indeed, this is so valuable, especially in the month of Ramadan, to be in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to spend a little portion in dua, a little portion in the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is extremely valuable. One other narration of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentions, the one who adds 2 more rakats to this salat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be sufficient for them for all of their needs for the entire day. Meaning Allah will be with them, and Allah will take care of their needs and necessity for the entire day. So just imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being with us at all times, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being with us and protecting us and taking care of our needs and necessity. So indeed, it is a very great and valuable time inshallah. I know many of you must be very, very tired because of being up for the entire night as well. But whoever can, inshallah, definitely try to utilize this time. And of course, the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, dua, the supplication, recitation of Quran, all the things which are very, very important for us. May Allah allow us to practice this, inshallah. Kurshis? اللهم لك الحمد كما أنت أهل وصل على محمد كما أنت أهل وفل بنا ما أنت أهل فإنك أهل التقوى وأهل المغفرة ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب اللهم واقعة كواقعة الوليد اللهم لا تكلنا إلى أنفسنا طرفة عين اللهم إنا نجعلك في نحورهم ونعوذ بك من شرورهم ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا صلى الله على النبي الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه وأمته أجمعين آمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.